Hello everyone, welcome back to Kirklees Guitar School. Today we're going to have a look at Country Roads by John Denver. So this is a great strummer with a new strumming pattern we're going to have a look at. And it also opens up the conversation about 2/4 bars, so it's, there's a lot in this and it's going to be really good. So here are the chords that we're going to use for today's lesson. We've got a G chord, E minor, D, C, F major 7, you can use a regular F if you want. I'm going to use F major 7 for today's lesson, and then D7 that takes you out of the bridges of variation. Now, in the first link in the description, if you follow that link, it takes you to his private Facebook group, and you can download a PDF that accompanies this lesson for free. Don't want anything from you. Join the group, navigate to the Files tab, and it'll be under the title for this lesson. I'd advise you get a copy of it and follow along with the pencil. It'd be a really good sort of companion to this lesson. So we're going to start with the intro. The intro is 2 bars of G and introduces the strumming pattern, and it pretty much keeps the same strumming pattern all the way through the song. So I'm going to fret a G. Now, there's 4 beats to the bar, but we've got groups of 3 for every beat. So it's like a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4. I call this a train beat. It sounds like the train. It sounds like sort of train going over the tracks. So I'm going to do what I call a little stroke on that first stroke, downstroke of the G. Now what that means is I'm just catching the lower strings of the guitar. I'm not specifically catching one string, but I'm sort of aiming for the bottom 3, and it's not an exact science, and the idea is the variation makes it sound the way that it does, so don't get too clinical. And then we're going to do a down and an up stroke with semiquavers quite quickly, and I'm doing full strokes there. So I do a little stroke, and then 2 grand strokes backwards and forwards, and that makes up your group of 3. So that would be beat 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you speed that up and it starts to sound like sort of 70s country. Pause the video and get that under your fingers. For the intro, we're going to do 2 bars of G. Moving on, that pattern continues into the verse. Now note there's a blue repeat marker there. We are going to come back to that, and it's blue for a specific reason. When we get to where we need to be, I'll tell you what that's all about. That's basically the first verse of the song. So we're going to go G, 2, 3, 4, E minor, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. We'll talk about that 2/4 bar in a second, but that's the almost heaven. Da, da, da. So it's basically where I start singing. I'm not going to do that to you all today. I've got a sore throat, and I'm using that as my excuse. Now, after we've done those 3 bars, we get over here to this 2/4 bar. Now, a 2/4 bar basically means, rather than playing 4 beats in the bar like we usually do, you know, on a time signature, you've got the numbers that stood on top of each other. 4, 4. Have we got that somewhere? Yeah, you see next to the treble clef over here, you've got 4 stood on top of another 4. So that means there's 4 crotchets in a bar. Now if I head over here, in fact let's blow that up. Notice how that number's changed to 2/4, which means just for that 1 bar, we're going to play 2 crotchets on that C chord. There's 2 beats in that bar. If I was to count this bar, I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, why do people do that? It's like songwriters use it. It's like a subconscious prod to get the listener to wake up. Clever songwriting tricks, little things like that, odd beats in a bar or occasional chords sort of missing from somewhere, and it just adds a nice little variation. But also, if you listen to the melody that John Denver's singing, it follows the melody beautifully. Now, all we're going to do there, we'll play the D chord as normal with 4 beats to the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same strumming pattern. But we're then going to go to a C chord, and instead of doing the 4 full beats, we're just going to do 2. We're going to squish it in half. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now notice how I'm counting each beat of the bar. That personally really helps me keep track of what's going on there. And I will, in my head, while I'm sight reading this, if I was sight reading it on a gig, starting on that D chord, I'd count a group of 4, a group of 2, and then another group of 4 for the G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'd like you to do, let's go back to that slide, pause the video and get that under your fingers and try and get that in a big chunk for me. It's the start of the verse. Excuse me. If we're okay, that's what the entire verse looks like. You see how we've still got the blue repeat marker, and it's pretty much just to repeat the bars 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the verse, but there's no 2/4 bar, and the idea is that we've sort of broken out of it. We've put that 2/4 bar in just to kind of disrupt it a little bit. So that's the verse. Pause that and get that under your fingers. If we're okay with that, let's go on to the chorus, which is pretty much, it's just a lot of the same. So that's country roads, da da da, down. Same strumming pattern. I know West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Same strumming pattern. All I'd say is between those two sections, if you're going between a verse and a chorus, strum the verses not as hard. Give yourself a little bit of breathing room so that you can sort of dig in a little bit more for the choruses. Let me show you what I mean. So your verse. I'm not playing any slower, I'm just not hitting the guitar as hard. But then if I was going to the chorus, just kind of gives it a little bit more of a lift. So pause the video and get that under your fingers if you need to for that. Now notice how we've got the reciprocal repeat marker there. Now that's the verse. Excuse me, I'm coughing and spluttering today. I'm trying really hard. This is my second take because I had a coughing fit the last one. And then the end of the chorus at the end of bar 20 there. So what that means is you're going to go all the way back up to bar 3 and repeat from there. Now why have I done that? I've done that because when I do gigs, I try and keep everything onto one page. I've got an iPad. I've got one of those sort of A4 sized iPads. And I've got a little pedal for turning the pages, but if I can try and keep everything onto one page, it's just one less thing to do. Like I've got my pedals for my guitar, I've got a pedal for turning the page, I've got a music stand. It's like Starship Enterprise if I'm not careful. I end up bringing half of my worldly possessions to a gig. So I try and sort of slim that down a little bit, and there's less that there is to sort of go wrong, the better for me on gigs, okay? So it's just a way of me condensing everything down. So as soon as you hit that second blue repeat marker, go back up to the verse. Right then, so now we're into the bridge. Now I have chopped it, it says bridge at the start of bar 20. Now, can you see how we've got E minor for 2, D for 2. So there's quite a lot in this bridge where we, rather than going 1 chord per bar, 2 chords share the bar. So you've got E minor, D, and then a full bar of G. 2 beats of C, 2 beats of G, 2 beats of D. So then bolting onto that, you've got E minor, F major 7, C, G, then we've got D, D7. Now notice how we go from D to D7. Now that's like a sort of old school Beatles trick, is that the Beatles did that a lot to sort of take you into a new section. And I think the lyrics yesterday, and then he says it again, yesterday, going back into a chorus. And we're going to do a double chorus there, country road. Sticking to the strumming pattern, nothing's changed. So we'll repeat that twice, and then as we get into bar 36 at the bottom, it sort of does what we call a refrain. You'll take me home, country roads. Now as we enter that last bar of G, you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see how on that very last bar of G, the last bar and the penultimate bar have that tie going across? So what that means is you're going to catch the first 3 beats of the bar as normal, and then on that fourth beat, you're just going to do a strum and let it ring out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the whole tune. So don't forget to go to the first link in the description and download the PDF for the song and go along with it, and it gives you a roadmap for the whole thing. I've covered all the sections in this video. If you've got an idea what we'd like to cover next on the channel, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next week for another guitar lesson. Thank you so much.